Hello everybody, welcome back to my sunroom here in East Tennessee. It is already mid-August. Can you believe it? Summer is almost gone. And people are starting to look at their Thanksgiving cacti, I've noticed. And they're starting to ask questions on older videos with my Thanksgiving cacti. And I understand because this is the time of the year that you kind of think, okay, we need to be gearing up or doing something so these things will bloom. So I thought I'd kind of go through some care tips and some observations with my Thanksgiving cacti with you today for what you need to be doing the month of August. As you see, I gave Big Red a huge haircut back after he bloomed. I guess it was back in March. I gave him a major haircut. Can you tell? No, he has grown back. I think he's double the size that he was. So Big Red is definitely going to bloom really well this year. As you all know, I made a mistake with this plant a couple of years ago. I repotted him back, let's see, it's been 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was 2021. My husband and I, we actually went ahead and repotted him into this big, huge 20-inch pot. It's just an enormous pot that we bought at Lowe's and put drainage holes in the bottom of it. And it was too late in the year. We repotted him the end of August 2021. And yeah, he didn't like it. It was way too late in the year to repot, and he sulked. He did rebound, but he didn't bloom as well that winter. And I learned right then, you don't just repot these in late summer. The best time to repot a Thanksgiving cactus or any type of a holiday cactus is after it comes out of bloom in the spring. So you're probably asking, okay, Amy, I did exactly what you said. I repotted mine too late in the year. I just repotted mine. Mine is now sulking. The reason why it is because right now I believe they're taking in probably more water than at any time of the year because they know that they're going to be blooming, in 3 months? Yeah. So they are conserving all the water that they're getting. I'm watering these very well. About the larger ones that I have, I water them about once a week. The smaller ones, I water them like every 5 days. I don't let them dry out bone dry this time of the year, but I do let the pots get pretty lightweight before I water again. So here's what I suggest. If you haven't repotted yours and it needs some more dirt and it's the end of August, the best thing for you to do is just to add some soil to the top of your pots. These don't need to be repotted very much. If you're watering them well throughout the year, if you're watering them correctly, I should say, and if you're fertilizing them while they're in active growth, then you only need to repot probably every 3 to 5 years, depending on, like if you're starting out with a very, very small plant, then you might need to go up a little bit after a few years. But if you've got a great big old plant like this, she's probably not going to be put in a bigger pot than this. And this is a 7-inch pot. I've decided I'm going to keep her smaller. She doesn't look very much smaller, does she? This is Snow White, and she's a pretty big cactus herself. So just learn from my mistake from 3 years ago. If you haven't repotted your plant and it really needs to be repotted right now, just amend the soil a little bit. Just add a little bit of soil to the top. That should be absolutely fine. It puts them under too much stress to be repotted this time of the year, just 3 months before they bloom. The other thing I'm asked a lot this time of the year is, why am I losing segments like this from my Thanksgiving cactus? Well, here's the thing. Sometimes when they grow, the branches get really heavy. And I think it's almost a way of them pruning themselves. Unless you have a large section of your plant that just falls off and the rest of the plant looks sick, then I believe that this is a normal occurrence. Actually, Big Red, he belonged to a friend of mine before he gave this plant to me. And this was just a little, well, no, not a little, I should not say that. It was a big branch from a plant that had fallen off of another plant that somebody stuck in the dirt. That was in 2015. This is 2024. Now look at this plant. So sometimes the limbs on the bottom, you see how they become like woody and cork-like down in here. That's normal, but sometimes they get so heavy that one will just kind of break off. It doesn't mean that you've made a mistake. It's just the plant is trying to prune itself. They just get heavy. It's like a limb in a tree that just gets too heavy for the rest of the plant. That's my best analogy. And it's funny that I should mention that because the big, huge tree in my backyard that helps keep this place semi-shaded decided to fall apart the other day. It's just huge. It's too large for my yard. But it's the same difference. It's like a huge tree that a limb just suddenly falls out of the tree. It's just one of those things. It just normally happens. It happens with Big Red. It happens with my larger segments I've noticed. The larger segments I've noticed. That's where they usually occur. So if you're losing a section from your otherwise healthy Thanksgiving cactus, that's totally normal. If you want to, you can just stick it down in dirt or place it in water and you can start a whole new plant. So here's one of my newer Thanksgiving cacti that my friend Sharon sent me. And this is about a 6-inch pot. Let me see. This is a 5-inch pot. Okay. And this is as big a pot as I want this plant in for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm going to try to keep it in this size pot. I don't want it to grow too huge. If you put them in very large pots, the roots will fill in the pots and the foliage will soon take off. So if you want something a little more manageable, keep it in a smaller pot. Don't let it get too large. I can only handle one Big Red. Or this whole sunroom would be, Thanksgiving cacti. So I water this one about every 5 days. This is growing in Glacier Gold potting mix and in extra small Orchiata bark from my sponsor, the Orchid supply store. Also, this pot came. This is an orchid pot that I find just perfect to grow Thanksgiving cacti in. So if you place your order from the Orchid supply store, make sure you use your coupon code, Amy, for a 12% viewers discount, and also you get free shipping in the continental United States, which is a great deal. Another thing I'm going to be doing this month is I'm going to be withholding the fertilizer. I've fertilized these from, they started growing back in March. They've had plenty of fertilizer to uphold blooms throughout this winter. So I've noticed that if I fertilize too late in the year, they just put on new foliage and they don't bloom as well. So probably here in the next, I need to quit doing it now. I need to stop fertilizing these now so that they won't get confused and just keep going in growth mode. I want to slow the growth. Of course, this one just keeps putting on new growth because the temperatures here are still very, very warm. But they've had enough fertilizer for this year. So probably what I'll do is every month or so, I'll probably water with a little bit of CalMag, but that's going to be it. I've just decided that they keep growing instead of blooming really well when I fertilize too late in the year. So I'm going to be stopping that. Also, people have asked me, do you water them even in September and in October? Yes, I do. Now, you're going to notice they don't need as much water as they do, say, in June and July. but I do continue to water them. These don't bloom from withholding water. These bloom from the drop in temperatures and the drop in daylight, not from withholding water. One year I withheld water during the month of October. I had been told at some point that that's what you do. It was so hot in October that my plants started wilting, and you don't want them to go through that much stress before they bloom. So I started watering them again, and I found out, no, you continue to water. You don't over water. You know that overwatering can cause them to rot. It'll cause mold to develop in their pot, which is, it's a mess. They won't recover from that. So if you're watering yours every, let's say, week, let's say you get a good wet, dry cycle. In other words, your potting mix is dry at the end of a week, and that's pretty much how often you're watering them throughout the summer. Okay, you're going to notice they might use a half to 2/3 of that amount. If they want the whole amount, by all means, give it to them. Make sure that the water drains away so that you don't get any rot in the roots. But I've noticed that mine just don't take in as much water. So if I put the whole, I usually use about 6 ounces of water with this one. If I use the entire 6 ounces of water in October, it will not take up that much water. It will probably take up maybe 3 or 4 ounces. So you save yourself some time from having to drain all that water off of your plants and away from your pots. If you're aware, they just don't take as much water as they did in the summer. That kind of makes sense, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you all for your sweet comments. I enjoy looking through my comment section so much. You all are such a blessing to me. And before I end this video, I'd love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your plants. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make His face shine upon you, and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face towards you and give you peace. You all make it a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.